at 5:03. Roll call. I'm here. Mario's here. Gary's here. Casey's here. Kathy's here. Robin is on vacation. She may zoom in.
Patty?
I don't think. Oh, no, I'm just going. I just wrote names. Yeah. Armand's on Zoom. Donna's here. Pat's here. Ellen is here. Fiona's here. John's here. Sue F. Suel, Sharon, Laurel, Amy, Chris, and Kim.
What a turnout.
And Kathy.
They all thought it was cheesecake.
You gotta cut the budget, you're retired now.
I know.
You can't afford to buy cheesecake.
I just got one from my son. He just said,
Yeah, Junior's all
Junior, yeah, of course.
Is there any other? Where else is there?
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Second? Donna. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, approval of minutes. You have 2 sets of minutes. May 20th and June 1st.
So moved.
Fiona, okay, approves. Second, Gary. You know, the Sue's Square do these, so.
You gotta be sure. That's why they're top notch.
No pressure, but.
C squared.
Wow. He's really after.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Armand.
Public participation? From the public? Where is she? Oh, there you are. I'm
I'm
sorry. Okay.
We invite her to the table.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I got invited to sit
Yeah,
here,
that's
so I didn't have
fine.
to yell from there if that's okay.
That's okay.
Hi, my name is Veronica Gillermino, and I am a teacher at Torrington Middle School. I've been teaching there 15 years now, and I teach right now 7th grade social studies. I taught 8th grade ELA for a while, and I teach the theater. I'm in charge of the theater program at both the middle school and the high school. So tonight I did look at the plans. The printout here is really hard to read, and I tried with a magnifying glass and a magnifying glass with a light. And I just had some questions and things I wanted to make sure were considered when we look at the performing arts space and what you have there for them that I can see. So I will apologize in advance if I make an assumption or mistake because I couldn't see it. And I will try to be brief because I know you guys have quite a bit to do. In October, we met in September and then again in October with the architects to discuss the needs of both the music and the theater programs especially. And when we met, we discussed the size of the middle school chorus, orchestra, and band programs. Those are the feeder programs for the high school. That's where the kids are coming from. Those programs have grown. They've grown tremendously, actually, just in the last 5 years. And quite a few students are headed into the high school that are already in those programs. And it doesn't seem as if the size of the music rooms, they seem as just proportionate and unable to accommodate the number of students that are involved in all the programs, not just band, but orchestra has over 70 students. And I believe chorus before COVID, of course, chorus had almost 80 students with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And I just wanted to make sure we keep that in mind. I did note some of the teachers said that the chorus was going to meet on the stage and rehearse on the stage space, which makes the stage space a classroom. It would have to be set up to accommodate both the high school chorus, and I believe there's 2, there's general chorus and chamber. And I believe the middle school chorus now actually separates by grade level. So 7th and 8th would be separated. That's 4 rehearsals a day in that space. So would that auditorium be available for assemblies, outside people's special programs? If that's used as a classroom, the setup and the takedown would have to happen every day for rehearsal. Oh, plus there'd be drama clubs. So right there, that's 5 classes a day in the auditorium. After school, every day it would be used for rehearsal. As right now, just before COVID, we were doing 4 shows a year with middle school and high school students, which means every day after school, I'm working there. So we'd have to take down the classroom setup and then put it back if we don't have enough space for chorus to rehearse. I do see that it appears to be on the picture a thrust stage, which is great, and I can work with that. I just want to make sure if we have it, that there's room for an orchestra pit for a musical. When I've used them before, they've always had, I don't want to say a hole in the ground, but the pits had room underneath, because if you have the thrust stage, they don't fit in front of the stage where they fit. So I wanted to make sure we have that. And I didn't want to just whine about theater. We do have students that are in this career path. We have had students graduate that are working in the field, that are very successful in the field. I have students now who just graduated from directing, students who are studying performing in New York, and a couple that have gone for technical theater. So we are definitely a career pathway. And I wanted to make sure when we're looking at lights and sound that we are looking at an industry standard for the equipment that we buy. Right now, the soundboard at the middle school drama club purchased that because the one that we had couldn't accommodate all the wireless mics that we needed. The lighting board at the middle school was purchased, I would say about 10, 11 years ago. No input at all, and that lighting board is a nightmare for anyone to try to use and figure out. We have had professionals in, we have had electricians in, we have had students in. Nobody can figure out that light board. It kind of does work on a prayer. You do a certain order of the buttons, you cross your fingers, or you say your prayers and it works. We don't want that. If we're teaching kids and we want to train them and get them ready to move on in the industry or to study in college, we want to make sure that we have equipment. Doesn't have to be top of the line, but it does need to be standard so that they're training on the same equipment they would use in the real world. And the very last thing that I wanted to say, it's kind of an urban legend, I think, or a story that I heard at the middle school, but I just think it's worth repeating when we're planning a school. I was told when I first got to the middle school that when the middle school was planned, they actually didn't have a plan for staff bathrooms. And staff bathrooms were handicap bathrooms, and then the staff complained and they had to change them into staff bathrooms or something. Remember, it's an urban legend. I don't know if it's true or not, because I wasn't here when the middle school that we currently use was built. But I just wanted to point out, you don't forget that teachers need to use the facilities and we need to eat. And we have a limited time for both. So proximity to those is much better than everything being far away. And I just wanted to make sure you heard that, because that legend has stayed in my mind every time I'm in the middle school. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Amy?
Can I ask a question as a follow-up and then also just make a statement?
Yeah.
So
Amy's been slammed.
I have.
Okay. Hi.
Yes. Hi, nice to meet you in person.
Yeah.
We've been on the other end of the computers to each other. You mentioned the use of the orchestra pit for musical theater drama productions, right?
Yes.
And the thrust stage that you see in the drawing is to accommodate the maximum number of students in the band, which we understand could be up to 140 students. So we added the thrust stage, which is demountable for that. I just want to double check with you that you wouldn't need both the thrust stage and the orchestra area at the same time.
So the thrust stage is removable. We can
Yes.
put it up and take it down. Then that's fine, because I can move it away and put the orchestra there for the musicals, because I should never put 140 kids on the stage at one time dancing.
Thank
They'd
you.
have to be really good.
I wanted to make sure that we didn't need them at the same time. They are in the same location.
Okay.
And then to address your concerns about lighting, and I will also add to that rigging, sound system, and the like, curtains. We have a theatrical consultant on board who works with SLAM. And in our next series of meetings, which begins when we get approval for design development, hopefully tonight, when we have meetings with you again, the consultant will be with us. And so he'll be asking you all of those questions about the light, the curtains, and your particular.
Okay.
needs. So that, at that point is when we'll get to that level of detail. So
Thank
good
you.
comments, and we'll take them all into consideration.
Don't forget the bathrooms.
Bathrooms, I hope we've already accommodated.
so.
We are showing
I couldn't see them, they're
that
little on my picture.
Well, they're small, you know, they're small.
Outside.
Kids.
We're gonna use them bad when they made them
bathroom.
small.
Happy to share them and point them out in our next meeting. And we also have dining rooms for middle school and high school staff, as well as faculty workrooms, which oftentimes people find more convenient to eat their
Okay.
lunch in also. So we do have that.
Donna had a question.
Yeah, while we have you, and just so that I understand, because I know you were at the middle school, one of my kids was in many of your, a couple of your productions, but I know the high school has a very robust program. It's a shared stage. You're using it for 4 performances a year for the high school.
Okay.
Have there been, is that when you
No,
made that
the high
statement
school-
of,
Right now, the high school used to do 3,
okay,
and right now they do 2, and the middle school did 2. So if we have combined it, that'll be 4
okay,
shows
so that's
a year.
anticipated that it'll be 4 with middle school. Got it. Okay.
And nobody should not take seriously what Ronnie says about having no time to eat or do the other things you need to do. And the other thing is, Ronnie, have you been able to access the PowerPoint versions of the plans?
No, but that
That's
could be
something we should
just
maybe
me.
send, because those are easy to see. You don't need a magnifying glass if you can put it up on a large screen.
We were gonna put them on the, our website, so
Okay.
take care of that.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, that's all. Thank you.
Any other public? No? Okay. Next one, I emailed you the long ONG contract for review and approval. Roy and myself spent a long time with ONG, had a couple of glitches, but it's finally done. And I just wanted to bring up one thing on the contract, which we feel is going to help everybody for payment. Construction manager shall pay any amount due to a subcontractor or supplier, whether for labor performed or materials furnished, not later than 15 days after the date the construction manager receives payment from us. So they know that after we give them their check, they have 15 days to give to the subcontractors, which I feel is most important. It's not 45 days, it's not 30 days, it's 15 days after they get it, so. What? They, within 3 days, 5 days maybe the most, yeah. They're very good at City Hall for that. It cost me a couple of cheesecakes, but it's very good. No, they're very good at City Hall, right? You get paid right away. Just check. So, no, you've been paid.
Perfect, then you're in
Well,
schedule.
the new one, you've got paid 53,000 and then 19,000. I got the checks. He still has them. He still has them. So, any other comments? Spent a long time on this. And it's the
Everybody's done that, right?
right. We have one more, but the mayor signs that one. That's commissioning by state statute. We don't, it goes right to the City Hall. They take care of that. They don't want the board or the building committee to sign that at all. It goes right to them, commissioned by state statute.
But they'll send us a copy.
Oh, yeah, once of course, yeah. Yeah, we sign 2 copies and give them one. Can I have a motion to approve ONG's contract? Yeah.
Second.
Second?
Fiona.
Casey? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, a review meeting with the athletic director, Mario and Amy. You want to start it? Mario?
We got a lot of fields in this little space.
Okay.
I drew a graphic of it.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Yes.
4-hour meeting. Yeah, Amy will supply the detail. Amy will supply the detail.
logging into the Zoom, I'll mention that Mario's brief explanation is true. But it's been so far 2 meetings in addition to the focus group meeting with the athletic director. After the schematic design drawings came out as reaction to our plan, we had a further discussion. And then, hold on, while I look for Ellen's email. Nope. Should be right here, but surprisingly I get so many emails and stuff. Selling house. I know. So after these 2 meetings, I think we've come to a pretty good conclusion of amount of fields and where the fields will be, pending the budget discussion and value management, of course, but I think it's all in place, at least so far. Something's wrong. This site configuration.
I watched that video. It's fantastic. Come on, I gotta hustle. Move along. Yeah, another one. I'll think of something to wait in the day. Yeah, I think it's questions. Go for the.
Yeah, I'm listening to them, yeah.
And then yeah. Exactly. I know.
This is my very.
Although it is.
It is now.
Uh-oh.
I told them. Today I'm.
Yeah.
What happened to you?
Oh, I know, that's last.
You didn't have one of those.
You had a big glass of wine.
Yeah, I wasn't that funny, like 2 seconds after.
I know, bang, right to the bar.
We're still talking, suddenly, whatever. Like, wow.
I was mortified.
Well, you know what? Especially,
You actually sang well. You sang well. Listen, you wish you were wearing a freaking tiara.
Hey, you look really cool.
I'm gonna get
So, crazy.
Just for it. I wouldn't wear a tiara.
We wouldn't have done anything. No, seriously. Well saying, Dan.
I posted it. Posted it.
I told Paul to that. Here's the signs. And then I just send a note to all of the.
All right.
I want to play golf with my brother Mike.
Tuesday.
Go through the first night. I'm starting reading where it's far away. I kind of want that good. We're going to play our way back.
Oh, you might have to go at that point.
But we were at cold.
You just jumped. You thought it was gonna be
All of them.
It was a Saturday. I was up at the campus. I got in just in between rainstorms. And I opened up and everything. Checking to see if I had to get
That's fun. It's a great dark.
Well,
Yeah.
right there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we're all inclusive here, Paul.
Thank you for coming.
Hey, Paul.
Your vacation.
Nobody cares, all the door locks work on the doors.
Said that it could see it. Well, Torrington School. Nothing with it, the high school. Nothing.
No. Absolutely. I think you. Bruce Williams rescue daughter. Yeah, Dustin.
Joe Cruz, I know Washington.
I know. He is Mount Washington.
He's on vacation somewhere.
Yeah.
I
He's
think
gonna need
it's
it.
Delaware.
I think he's-
So that where he's
Yeah. Oh, Dustin Johnson.
Yeah.
Has it changed?
Process, but he's picking up. Yeah. He's on Saturday. He's going to the place to go. Yeah. They said, good, you're doing me things. I know. I sit in and I think it's good. Usually I come in a couple of
Not everybody is like us.
The architect.
Yeah, we get
My
it.
experience.
He's not studying. Well, this one is,
You know,
this one's.
They live in. I was teaching like a house. Architecture was cool.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, he will do it, I guarantee you. Okay. He looks up. He does this. Semester here, so I just want
I got you all flustered.
Well, Jesse's too, right?
Okay, Amy, you ready?
Okay, everyone, I'm sorry about that interlude. What's on the screen is the schematic design version of the site plan. Once this was published, which you all have seen, there was a bit of a reaction because in a different version, the two track and field events, javelin and is the shot put,
Yes.
were overlapping in their ending zone, as well as overlapping with the practice field. So we've modified it so that they're not overlapping even on this version. But then there was discussion about how to maximize the use of baseball fields for both middle school and high school, softball fields for JV and varsity, and how we could do that perhaps by overlapping the multi-purpose field with one of those outfields. So if you can flip 2 slides ahead. This is a very rough schematic that we actually produced this morning while on the call with the athletic director, but it represents some development. The varsity baseball field is where you've seen it. The varsity softball field is approximately also where you've seen it. The home run line for softball and JV, which is turned this way, baseball have been adjusted. Those are both at 225 now. That they do not overlap the multi-purpose field, but the multi-purpose field overlaps the outfield of your existing baseball field, which can remain or can be improved. Or if you get the ad alternate for turf, we would need to include the outfield only of this baseball field as artificial turf in the same ad alternate as this multi-purpose field, because we don't want 2 different materials on the play surface. But what it does do is it gives you yet another field during the spring season to be able to accommodate those middle schoolers who are moving up here, as well as the high school field teams at the same time. And it gives you all of the other amenities. The practice field for football can overlap the JV baseball or softball field, and the javelin and discus, I was wrong, not shot put, sorry, discus, are able to be accommodated as well. So that's just a quick update, 2 meetings worth of discussions. And so as we move forward with design development, this is the plan that we'll be implementing So when you see that come along, as we move forward, you'll know why it's not the same as the schematic design plan that we presented earlier.
Mary, you have any comments for you at the meeting?
No, I mean, we've twisted and turned those fields every which way.
I did.
Most of them are located to minimize sun glare, with the exception of that middle school softball diamond. And by overlapping soccer and JV baseball, well, that allowed us to squeeze in the other one. Tennis courts are going to be a little bit smaller. They're going to be 4 with 2 as an ad alternate. The other 2 would shorten up meets by considerably. Right now, those meets are like a death march. But well, I've never played them. But so all in all, it's pretty good on paper, right?
On paper, we still have to accommodate, elevations and grading.
Yeah, walkways.
And the handicap accessible pathways to each of the field areas. But with this goal in mind, we know that we can make it work and catch another field for those middle schoolers.
Yep.
In the other design, it was 6 tennis courts though, wasn't it?
It was 4 + 2, just as it is.
Oh,
now.
just as it is now, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So moving on from this discussion, and before we start the budget estimates discussion, Kemp and I also received the preliminary traffic study today. So if you don't mind, can we add that to the?
Yeah.
Fiona, did you have a question?
I just,
Oh,
I mean,
sure,
this is
sure.
still a tremendous amount of additional field space in comparison to what we have existing.
That's correct, because existing, your high school is actually here and here.
Yeah.
So this new baseball field is on top of the footprint of the existing high school.
Mhm.
And so is this varsity softball field. So yes, we are able to accommodate more fields with this location of the building. And that was the goal. That was probably the #1 reason for that.
And you still don't have to cut into
320. 320 down the line for
the
350.
mountain?
That's correct. We have not shown any change to the mountain in the back.
Okay.
Or hill.
Well,
We'll call it
whatever.
hill just in case
Hill,
we need to
yeah,
call it.
true.
Down the line.
So that dark triangle that's facing the other way,
In this corner?
no,
Oh,
Down by
right,
the
right,
rail turf
that one
field.
right there, what is that? The
That's-
small little triangle that's darker
Oh,
green.
right here?
Nope,
This.
You know why it's darker is because it's an overlap of multiple light greens that we were moving.
so it's not another field.
It's not another,
Okay,
that's not
gotcha.
a triangle field. It's actually the overlap of the rectangular practice field and this rounded edge of the JV softball. Sorry.
Gotcha,
You're getting 2 programmatic elements in the same field space.
okay, thank you.
Hard to read, but as we were doing it on the screen with the Mike and Charlie and Mario today, they were able to see us in real time to sort of pick up this color block and move it around and try
Right,
to
right,
make
yeah.
everything fit.
When you have shared fields, is there an extra cost to maintaining a shared field as opposed to a standalone field?
No, actually, what's nice here is that anywhere where we're overlapping elements, it's off-season. So in the fall, the practice field will be for the football team, and in the spring, softball and middle school or JV baseball actually middle school baseball and softball.
Okay, I do have another question on that field that's there, where it overlaps. It looks like it's also overlapping in the infield. Is there gonna be a grass infield?
Oh,
On this piece here,
it may be. I would say yet to be determined. We know that the varsity softball will have a play-in field and also the varsity baseball. But as we move forward, we're going to be looking carefully at that overlap and whether or not we can provide it. And then it'll be a question to the users. So, and just as I was mentioning for the drama department, we will have more, once we refine this, we'll have more meetings with the AD.
I have a question. What's the distance between What would be the discus, right? The discus triangle there? Yeah, and the soccer field.
That's existing, Paul.
That's
Yeah,
already there? That
Yeah.
discus is
it's over
already
there now.
Okay.
Yeah, actually,
Right now, the
we moved it
discus,
down a
I'm
little.
sorry, Amy, the discus is right there. And if you remember,
Actually,
Paul, along, well, basically where that soccer field is shown right now,
Yep.
the multi-purpose, they just paint some lines for the gaff.
So they don't have an official landing.
And Paul, that diamond there near the cul-de-sac won't have a fence.
Right, so around here, this will just be grass spilling out.
Yep.
Unless we are so lucky as to get synthetic turf. And then we will need a outfield
Mhm.
fence.
So what's the maximum concurrence you'd have teams practicing / playing on this configuration?
Well, Mike doesn't schedule baseball on the same day as track games, not track meets, rather. So
That's
if
no problem.
anything, let's just say the baseball team had a practice, they would go down in that varsity field to get the heck out of the way of the track meet.
Okay.
Right? Softball and baseball could play at the same time, but they're still gonna plan on playing at Fusion too. They'll probably split their time, especially now the cities, there's a fee now involved too. So, like Amy said, the springs, there's times when the fall sports are occupying that multi-purpose field, and then in the spring, it's baseball and softball. So we really hope to get turf, but it may not be realistic right now because there will be a lot of play out there for sure. It's gonna be a challenge to maintain the grass.
All right, thank you.
Did you, one more question. Did you get into further discussion about the backstops at ball fields?
We did get information and no, we didn't get to discuss it, but we provided a questionnaire about backstop, about all of the amenities and sort of the accessories to the fields. And we received feedback on it, and that's what we're going to implement moving forward. And then we'll show, diagrams and drawings of those as we move forward. in those next
They
meetings.
don't want the domed backstops.
Right.
We got rid of them all because kids were getting conked in the head,
Changes the game too. Takes pop-ups out of the game.
Yeah, it
so,
takes pop-ups out of game, right? So, previously, there was a concern where tennis courts could be in the foul ball territory. Now, on the varsity softball diamond, by the time the ball travels 200 and, 40 feet probably to that point, it's gonna be descending, and there's, I don't know how tall is a fence at a tennis
10
court.
10 feet
10 or
or 8
12
feet,
feet, so
depending upon the. 10.
There's not too many instances where that ball is gonna clear the softball fence and the tennis fence. It's just not gonna happen. So it should all be good.
What's happening now though with the softball is the windows are getting broken
Mhm.
because it's so close to the school.
Yeah. I don't,
I don't think
That-
that's gonna be an issue
I don't,
here.
are there
No.
windows there, Amy? On that,
It looks
Not
like
on
it's
this
far,
end, no.
farther enough away.
Nothing of any
Nothing of
substance.
No
any
windows on
substance
that
here,
end, yeah.
and I mean, by the time you get to the
no,
middle.
yeah,
school, you're
no,
running-
that won't
And
happen.
you've got the gym
No.
on that end.
Right, yeah.
No, that's correct. Windows are
So
being
that's
broken.
the,
right now.
that's the better spot for the field.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
And they're not looking into the sun anymore.
right,
Right.
right.
If you don't mind, to the far left, that's the shot put or the javelin, tucked away in the corner?
Discus.
Discus.
Discus. Okay, and where's the javelin?
Javelin's here, so we're actually getting more overlap on that
Okay.
grass.
And there's no outfield fence line on that field. So even though this shows as if the grass ends and the grass ends, that's not the case. This is all grass.
This
It's
is very
just, those are
diagrammatic.
diagrammatic for placement and so that we can make sure we can fit everything.
And there's not enough room to flip flop the discus and the javelin. In other words, the javelin tucked away in the corner there to the left, just so it's for safety reasons. Yeah, I think it
It's
might
too
be too
long.
long.
Yeah,
you
I
can't-
can't remember what I think it's 200 feet on the javelin or
Yeah,
something like
that's
that, so
about
it's too long.
180, 200, so there's
Yeah.
not enough room. Okay.
It's the same as we do now. We just stick it out in a piece of grass
Grass
where
and we just-
they tape it off with caution tape and put on hard hats and get out there.
We haven't lost anybody.
I understand though that there's only 4 meets Is
That's
that
correct.
right? So, so while this looks prevalent in the center of our drawing, it's gonna be used for,
Yeah,
4
just-
times for events, it'll be used for practice. All right,
Any other questions? Okay,
Coming along.
so if you go back 2 slides again. This is schematic design, Ken, and
Yeah.
then the next one shows.
Yeah, that'd be good to just have this up. So, thanks, Amy. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to give you a brief update on the traffic study. We received about 3 hours ago, I guess it was, a
Busy
draft
day.
of the executive summary for the study. All good news. They did counts on, I think, a total of 6 intersections along Winthrop, all the way down to South Elm and up to Charles. So basically all the intersections along that path. And the level of service for any of those intersections remains very good. I don't know if anybody's familiar with level of service for intersections, but it goes A through F. All the existing conditions were either A or B. And any condition in the proposed build scenario gets no worse than C, which is very good. In fact, a wait time of no more than 16 seconds. So that was really good news. And also that portion of the study is presuming that this is the only entrance into the school. It hasn't taken into consideration this being a potential entrance. So if this does become a potential entrance, the wait times at those intersections just get improved because you're shifting the load around. So that was really good news. We did talk a little bit about the shift of the entrance drive. We know that there's some opposition in the city about that move. I think, we'll have to have some conversations about whether or not the budget can afford to do that anyhow. So I think maybe you can advance it to the alternate plan.
is that the plan you sent us? Because,
Yes.
so
Oh, yeah, did you share that?
Here you go, Mayor. But our traffic engineer felt that with that opposition, that it would not be worthwhile pursuing this shift drive, because it does ultimately have to go to the state traffic authority's office, and they're going to look for consent from the local traffic authority. And if we don't have it, it's going to be difficult.
Our position is, we'd rather just leave the road and improve it.
right,
We're not looking to ruffle the police chief's feathers or anybody else's.
So pick our battles.
Exactly.
So what we've done is we've redesigned how that would work, and leaving that existing parking lot for the most part the way it is. Enlarging the entrance drive, I believe it went to 3 lanes. The recommendation from the traffic engineer is to have 1 lane in and 2 lanes out. That's the recommendation. Because you can get a dedicated left and right at this intersection out and 1 coming in. You're only going to have 1 car coming in at any time anyway, because you've got a 3-way stop there. And we felt that having 2 lanes in would be potentially dangerous, because you'd have some convergence and shuffling as people are trying to jockey their way into getting to whatever pull off they want to come to after they come in. So I would, I like that recommendation. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Go ahead.
Just if there's still a possibility, because I think it would help if we could deter half the buses geographically out a back entrance and in a back entrance. So we're in essence splitting the traffic, because the buses, I think, is what causes the big delay. If we could, direct West End buses out that back entrance.
I agree. And I think we talked about that, whether or not we designate this as the bus entry solely, potentially. And so buses come in and out in that location, just to completely separate bus from other car traffic. And that may be a good solution, because parent drop-off is right here. You don't ever, if the buses come in, go to the bus loop and then exit, they really don't ever cross, other than the cars that are coming in here for parking, which are most likely going to be staff. And they'll be there, most of them will be there before the school buses get there.
Sharon?
I was been hearing from some people that are upset about that entrance because of the quiet neighborhood that's over there. But also when the buses go out, there will not be a traffic light when they go on. I don't know that, I'm not familiar with the neighborhood, so I'm just relaying the concern that I heard from some people.
Yeah, we grew up in that neighborhood and it's a road. And it's, as far as I'm concerned, is open to the same traffic as every other neighborhood.
Half the students today than you did 30 years ago.
Exactly.
But did the traffic study include?
It did not yet. He's gonna go back and
he
do
should do
some
the
counts.
He's going to.
Yeah.
He didn't want to go ahead and do that until we confirmed.
Yeah,
for
we
him that that's-
definitely want, at the very least, or would like, not want, but we would like at least the north and the west side buses to go in there, at the very least. To your point, if you could get them all in there, that's even better.
But I don't know if you can, because a lot of them are on the east side.
You may not be able to.
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
they have to go all the
right.
way around, right? So,
Right.
But buses go there now. They don't go to the high school, but they go into Northridge and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right
the,
now. So
the,
three sets of buses.
There's
the
students there.
cities,
Yeah, right.
the city's study from UConn, you know, they said, oh geez, we got to study all of that. There's, you know, there's a apartment complex that's been there since the school opened. You know, they did Dolman Drive, which just is a few houses up a dead end. There might have to be a traffic light at Northside Drive, which exits onto Winston Road. It's
Yeah,
just-
that was the
Yeah,
the
it's-
big concern with the traffic light thing.
plus the traffic has so much time to thin out between Northside Drive and here.
Mm.
And Winston Road is not very, there's not very many cars in the morning.
It wasn't even a traffic, UConn wasn't even a study, it was an overview. She didn't
Yeah.
do any statistical analysis, right?
Right.
She looked at the plan and she made comments.
Yeah.
Nothing in
So
writing.
Our traffic engineer will provide all of the traffic counts at those intersections. And so we'll have good data and backup
Yeah.
for any recommendation. that
This
we
is great. I mean, this is great. We could live with that.
Yeah, two
UConn
questions.
wasn't by us, UConn was the police chief.
Yeah.
Paul wanted to know.
Is
Coming,
there, can we just, is there a report that we can look at? Or
We've never received.
We've never, we've asked and
I've asked for
asked,
it.
but we've never received.
Well, it was in his email, though.
His letter.
Well, yeah.
That's what, it wasn't a study.
No.
It was simply somebody commenting on current conditions versus future conditions. He's a graduate student at UConn. I guess Torrington, or at least the police department, the traffic department uses her when they want a quick analysis. But it's not, she's not a traffic.
Nor does she have any local knowledge.
No, but it wasn't a study.
Go ahead, Ellen.
okay, so the bus is coming from the back and making that turn. There's enough room to make the turn around the field? See what I
Yes.
mean?
Uh,
Okay.
Our landscape architect has made sure that the turning movements are accommodated for buses.
Okay. My other question is, on Winthrop Street, there's only gonna be one entrance and exit. That second one is gonna be gone?
Well, so it depends on what ends up being afforded by the project. So we're showing a build out of this parking lot as if we're going to reconfigure it. And the skate park is gone, and we're gonna reconfigure it, maximize the parking spaces and utilize it for the school. In that case, we could leave that existing curb cut or not. I don't think we need it. But if we choose, after discussions about the budget, to leave the existing parking lot exactly as it is, just in its same place, and only spend money to improve Major Bessie by widening it, milling and overlaying the existing, that would help maximize your budget for the school. And it would, since we're proposing to leave the parking lot in approximately the same location as it exists today, you know, you wonder, is it worth spending the money to improve that parking lot or not? So it's a decision that can be made as we move forward.
Go ahead. Two things. Follow up Ellen's question, which is on point. That radius for the bus turnaround, that was considered for February, correct? Middle of winter, heavy snowfall. We're still good?
Yes,
Okay.
because
Just making sure.
it'll be fully cleared and there's snow shelves there
Okay.
along here.
And just second, what, have we talked to the bus contractor about this plan? But they're just getting input
Yeah,
from what they.
yeah, I
think
have
about
had
it?
it. Yeah, from Mossy, yeah.
Yeah, what do they think about?
They like going in the back. They want to, you know, It's
Okay.
quicker for them to get from that area than going around the whole north end and coming back up.
Well, they have a vested interest in the best.
Yeah.
A shorter
Plus-
ride for the students.
For
Right,
students,
plus
yeah.
the buses won't have to dodge the kids trying to cut them off to get out before them.
Yeah, right,
You like
right.
it, Marianne?
To that point, I forgot what number Robin talked about for student parking. At one point, we had talked about staff up above and students closer to the school. Now, you mentioned staffing mostly being in that center.
Absolutely. We wouldn't recommend students parking in the center of a bus loop. That is a great location for faculty because they get to the school earlier. They can park there, be out of the way of that bus traffic. And the same goes for this inner circle here where parent drop-off is expected. We also wouldn't recommend student parking in that location.
But that
that's
may or
great
may
for
not-
visitors, handicap accessible spaces to the main offices and some others.
That may drive the need though to improve that
This parking lot.
existing
Yeah.
parking lot
It may,
because.
we're gonna look carefully at the parking count of what we can get around here. Now, remember, we're modifying this athletic fields plan. So the parking spaces that we've captured here are gonna go away based on today's discussion. So all of this will be reconfigured. We can look at tow-in parking facing the hill. We can look at how many get accommodated. This part will still be essentially the same. But you're right, that may be necessary, but it may also be able to accommodate the number of students that you need to, even in its existing configuration. So we should look at it always, in my opinion.
So then there would be sidewalks
Yes.
too. Okay.
And we did talk also with the traffic engineer about his recommendation for speed tables. So that at a crosswalk situation, if you were directing people along a sidewalk here, crossing once to get to the high school, for example, and I don't know where we're recommending it, they're not showing yet. We'll have a speed table at that location. So that really helps to reinforce the crosswalk.
You say leave that parking lot the way it is, which I agree. But you're not talking about, you're talking about milling and overlaying as well. You're not gonna just leave it as is.
You can do either.
Well, you wouldn't want that. The traffic's all, I mean, it's all broken up already. That would be it.
Depends
But-
if the city owns it or if the school
Well, we already-
owns it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what the budget can afford. And
Well, we're gonna have, but no, we're gonna have to improve, even if the city owns it, we have to fix it.
Yeah.
Under the agreement that's been talked about. So we'll still have to pay it. But,
Then milling and overlaying in place is still less expensive than what we're showing.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can leave it as is. I mean, if we want to make a major change with zoning requirements, we'd have to have islands and we have to have breaks.
That's what we're showing.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I counted the spaces. There's more than enough spaces to make up for what you show there.
Good.
If you include without having to
Skate
add the
park,
islands
right,
and the cuts. So,
And Bill is working on a concept sketch that does keep it as it is.
Right.
And
Because there are no-
Yeah, because you get no islands, there's more
Yeah,
parking.
correct.
Once you get rid of the skate park, it adds probably
And you
40
wouldn't need that
spaces there.
other cutout
more, I'm not sure
because
how
there
many,
would
but
be
yeah.
3
Yeah.
lanes.
it'd be 20. But you're done.
To exit 2 lanes.
Major
to
Best
exit.
would be
Yep.
wider, so you wouldn't need that other
Right.
cutout to
Yes,
just sneak off.
right.
I think the cutout actually creates more
I agree.
confusion.
Yes,
There's-
it
It's
does.
not very useful.
Right.
People
Well,
try to
see-
leave there and then squeeze between
Yeah.
two other
But it-
people who are
But
at
it
the
used
stop
to
sign.
be coming out of Major Best, you couldn't take a left turn. You had to go
Correct.
through the parking
Right.
lot in
Correct.
order to take a
Now you
left
can take
there.
a left.
But now you can take a left turn once they put the stop signs in.
No, we don't
So-
need that exit.
So it's not necessary to have that.
And they'll give you back a couple of parking
Cutout.
spaces.
Mhm.
I just wanna, so the delivery, because the service entrance is across the back, so if a truck was coming in, would they come in by the pond or by the bus loop around?
They'll probably come, well, probably
Either
the main entrance and come in through here and around, and then they're able to turn around, back up, and then leave the same way.
And trash pickup would be there as well.
Same, yep.
Correct. Same
in the
place.
So so coming in either way, even if it's a huge semi, it would still be able to cut that corner.
Yeah, so this, in one corner that I know we've pushed the driveway out in order to accommodate a larger turn here. And so Bill was able to take a look at that for certain trucks. We received information from the fire chief of what their truck turning radius is. So they're running that information now. We have a fire lane that does go all the way around the building, but we want to make sure that they can make that turn.
Right, right.
So
Especially with the ladder.
we're still
truck.
looking at that. I don't want to promise you that it's not going to adjust a little. It might.
Can you provide us with the turning radiuses on a drawing one of these days? So we-
Sure.
So we can. so
Yeah,
I
we're
can
gonna
look
do
at it?
that for the
Probably
security
not, yeah.
committee meeting anyway, because that was a request of the fire marshal or fire chief.
It will
So,
ultimately be
happy.
part of the planning and zoning package.
I knew, yeah, I knew.
Amy,
So would
I'm
that be a
sorry, Ellen.
one-way then?
What was the question?
Would that be one-way, like,
Other
the
cars,
fire lane?
the fire lane will be closed to circulation, other than emergency. It will never be, we don't want anybody traveling here to here,
okay,
so there's no circle around the building.
So
Probably
the
be a
back
gate
would be two-way.
or a chain or some, some way to prevent traffic from.
okay, so the other way would be two-way.
The,
Amy,
the preschool parking is down here, so there will be some people coming down here parking and then going back up.
Okay,
Amy, that current storage area there, right near where the pinch point is.
Yes, right number 5.
What is it now?
So outdoor vehicle storage,
I mean, if we had to,
cut that right off.
we
What
could.
does that mean?
it's an industry term.
Italian, take it right off. if we
Saving
had to.
money every day.
Right. Well, that would give it more room to make that turn if we need it.
Yeah,
That's true. I appreciate that,
Yeah.
something to keep in mind.
And to your point, Ellen, about tractor trailers, if they're coming in, probably would not send them this way. I don't
No,
know, I
right.
mean, we probably haven't done the turning radius study for.
It's gonna be
tractor trailers.
closed at a certain time.
Exactly, that's-
Yeah,
Right,
nobody's not
right.
gonna go in there.
It's
at all.
We
gonna
want them
have a-
coming in.
No.
but I'm
Gate
just
on a timer.
thinking where number 3 is, how would they turn around? But, I mean, it's a
That
lot,
we actually did study.
it's a lot bigger than it looks.
It is. It is a lot bigger than it
Yeah.
was. So, I mean, this is a gymnasium, and there's,
Oh, okay,
so if you can imagine that.
I can imagine that.
Size of a
Thank you.
basketball court.
Yeah,
In those areas where the trucks are gonna be, can you make as much as you can mountable? Because you know what's gonna happen. They're gonna go over the curbs and they're gonna destroy the turf, or destroy the grass.
Mhm.
Just make them mountable, some sort of stamped concrete or something.
what does that mean, mountable?
The truck can
The
go over it
curbs.
without falling over it. The curb is just, comes up at a slight slope, but the
Okay,
truck can
It's like
drive
what we
over
call
it.
a Cape Cod curve.
okay,
Yeah, just slope curves.
It just makes it easier for truck turning radiuses.
You're right, because they always miss.
They always,
And the curbs break down.
Yeah, and there's a big rut.
and they take the corners of the buildings off.
So Buzz will do that too.
right.
Should we move on from this? Any other questions on the traffic study or the site?
So that was a little,
Thank you.
So on
Yeah,
the next
bonus
meeting,
to
you'll
the
have the
event.
traffic study before, so I can hand it out.
Yes, as soon as it's complete.
Right, yeah.
You still got to do more
Yeah.
accounts, so it may be a few weeks before it's complete. We're going to target the planning and zoning submission to be probably about 3/4 of the way through design development. So probably about 10 or 12 weeks from now.
Amy, one more question.
Did we, maybe you're gonna talk about it later, but did we finish borings up on top or no?
we did do borings up on top. They revealed high water table,
Yeah, everybody knows that.
but
No
no other
filling.
surprises.
Good.
That's better the fields are there.
It is,
Yeah,
but
yes,
then
yes,
then the civil
yes.
engineer and the geotech report recommends a lot of drainage under the fields. So that's expensive.
If we want to. Yes.
You've been living without it for this long, so
Mhm.
something to be considered.
Okay,
Yeah, what's on the agenda, Ed?
next is the estimate.
Okay. And we can go to the actual beginning of the presentation.
So,
Dave's here for some.
I'm here for support.
So I'm gonna give you a good recap of what we've been doing since a week ago Tuesday.
Papers.
Yeah, Monday, we published the estimate. Need Monday,
The 11th?
reconcile
Yeah.
on Tuesday.
They're all coming up.
No,
Tuesday.
I think we're good.
Oh.
Team.
We got a problem.
They're all coming up. It can't be good.
No, it's good. We're not surrounding you. We're all
Right, we're all back here.
Closer to the exit.
Well, the dots.
If we stand up, they're outnumbered.
Just get.
Brief overview is
Yeah.
Slam
let me,
published
we've
schematic design.
uh,
We hired a estimator. ONG did an estimate. The two estimates came back. A week ago Tuesday, we had a 9-hour meeting to chat. We reviewed line by line all of that estimate and where one estimator had a high number compared to the other and vice versa. We went through all of those line items to see, well, what did you see in the drawings that I didn't see? Or what did you see in the drawings that I didn't see? And then with the architect and other design professionals on the line, we really clarified that. So right out of the gate, the estimate after being reconciled was still high, well above the budget being broken down construction and soft costs. You're used to seeing this 160 million number. When you take the soft costs out, which is this $26 million number, your construction cost budget is 133 and change. That day, June 12th-ish, we were at 160, which is 20% over budget. We met again and we looked at a lot of, multiple times. Every day.
Spent a lot of quality
Every
time,
day
Rob.
since
A lot of quality time.
then. And we have a shared document, an Excel spreadsheet that ONG and SLAM and CSG all have access to. Whoever has an idea how to save money, you write it down. And Bruce Gelbar on Dave's team and Laurel's team has been pricing these as we write them. He's been very accommodating and trying to understand what you write in a little Excel box. What does that really mean? Can you provide me a drawing? Okay, go back, provide him a sketch. And then we came to a number of value management items that were acceptable, both to the design team that we recommended, and then after meeting with Ed and Mario twice this week to review them, we have now looked at value management that is in the neighborhood of $14 million accepted, which brings the adjusted construction cost to $146 million. And then there's an additional $4 million that's still pending. There are a couple of other items that haven't been priced yet that are not included in this $4 million. So that number is subject to change and only improved. So the pending adjusted construction cost is at $142,131,356, which represents about 6.5% over budget. So that is $8.8 million over budget. You may recall, or I will remind you, that when we started schematic design, when we looked at the conceptual design budget, we were at $7 million over budget at that time. And that was based on the additional square foot of the building after all of those programming meetings. And it was based on the additional area of site on that major Bessie Park area that was not originally in the feasibility study budget. And one other thing, which is added site program. So site program building and that.
Added site program in the form of fields.
In the form of fields.
As
So-
well as the added area.
Right. Now I just want to, unfortunately, I didn't rewrite these figures on the next slide. So, oh, you're holding them, right?
Yeah, we have
Okay,
them,
yeah. If you can go to the next.
Yeah, so before you go, a couple comments. To be at 6.5% or so above budget, that's schematic is, in my opinion, in all the years I've been doing this, pretty comfortable position. I mean, I think we can certainly will work together through the DD process to continue to chisel that down and make sure that we don't lose any programmatic elements as much as possible. But then I think the next slide is,
I think Fiona had a question first.
Just two quick questions. Does that amount include which version of the Bessie Park entrance?
That's a good question. The accepted value management is the one that you just saw where Bessie as is.
Okay.
But it does not include the as is parking area. It includes the parking area that we just showed.
Okay. And then does that also include the over $1 million in permitting fees to the city?
Yes.
So, well, we have a potential to remove an amount of that. So we're figuring as a potential, because it's not confirmed yet, a certain amount of that coming back. That's part of the 4.095 in potential pending budget management that's there.
Have we touched contingency yet?
No, that's the next
So-
slide.
Oh,
Okay, sorry.
I didn't think we did.
Sure.
Yeah, so,
Back.
so that 7 million, oh, it looks like my tab. Sorry. This is supposed to align.
It
but
does on this sheet.
It does?
Yeah.
Ellie, can you just?
Yes,
Oh, she's gonna fix it.
Oh.
Oh, magic.
Thank you.
It's like inspiring if you.
No.
So that 8.8 million, and the total overage on construction, I guess I want to point out, includes all of these contingencies and escalation.
Well, the 8 million,
Includes, yeah,
the construction value, the construction value includes everything but the 7.6 owner's contingency.
right,
The owner's contingency is in the soft cost.
Is in the soft cost, right? The
Right.
26 million soft cost.
Correct.
right.
It's a
So-
separate line item in the soft cost.
In the
Correct.
soft cost,
Right.
correct.
Yes.
Right, so all of these contingencies do contribute to the total value. And that combined soft costs and construction costs is what's 8.8 over budget.
Right.
So that also includes, and probably is worth talking about, today's market, which I'm sure you've been to Home Depot lately.
So our
Noticed yourself.
estimate and PM&Cs, right, they were estimated using today's dollars. On top of that, which is why we have the escalation contingency in there, that's something that as we move into DD, we're going to assess the markets at that point too. I mean, there's a lot of changes there. So that will continue to shift. The contingency or the escalation contingency at DD will go down because there's less of an unknown from now till bid time. But then if we see any material prices coming back down, each of the individual estimate line items will come down in response to that. So we are unfortunately seeing it, obviously, an unideal situation with material prices these days. But it is.
Right now, lumber is down to $900 board foot versus it's down $1,000 board foot.
Yeah,
Per
but
thousand, so it's down about 50%.
Yeah, but it's
Month
still.
ago.
Oh,
But
yeah,
it's still high.
It's still way
We're not
high.
when we were, it's not going up like it was last month.
No, but
still gotta carry
there's
it.
other stuff that are filling its shoes right
Yeah, so
there.
we've got steel prices, going up, but that it'll change.
It will. It absolutely will. It's
And
just.
that's why it'll change when you see the budget at the end of DD. The estimators, both ours and ONG's, will have been accommodating what's happening right then. So in September, when we publish design development, the October numbers that we share with you are going to have a different condition, market
Hopefully-
condition.
Hopefully
Based
better.
based on
Hopefully
real
better.
time.
Right.
You guys buy forward contracts? I mean, could we consider buying forward contracts? If we felt there was, if, let's say lumber came down to $35 a sheet for plywood or
Are
versus
you
90
allowed to without OSG?
I don't know, I'm asking.
You'd have to get state approval,
No.
which we're miles away from at this point.
The only thing, again, this is just a quick thing that I know we've seen happen recently, right? Laurel, aren't we seeing, didn't we change some terms on some recent projects about the amount of time that we're holding a bid? I think right now, typically, we ask trades to hold their number for 90 days. Right, we cut it in half because people were saying, well, things could double in 90 days. So we, in the bidding document said, hold it for 30 or 45 days or something like that. And control that a little bit. So there's some other strategies we can employ, but pre-buying stuff is, there are some items in the contract about, I think, pre-purchase, but as far as a commodity type thing like that, I don't, we would still need the
State
approval to
process
bid from
money
the state.
that up.
Yeah, before we go in.
10 days.
You can't go out to bid until you get state approval, so it's,
State approval, it's gotta be done.
yeah, in order to get. state approval.
Ellen's got a question.
Silly question. What's DD?
Oh, design development.
Thank you.
We have 3 phases of design, schematic design, which is what we just completed. Design development's the next one. And then that we conclude with construction documents.
Thank you.
Sure.
My head's full of board.
I got a
head.
question.
That's okay.
Acronyms.
I
David.
understand. We talk in jargon a lot.
Some of the material you sent over to Ed and I'm with Gary. I think the price is gonna come down as well. They're gonna continue to come down. But the lead time on steel, how do you treat that? I think you said 9 to 11 months. I don't.
Well, there's some of the stuff, I know joists and decking is what's really bad, and actually Laurel was just talking before, right, on a project, we changed to a shop fabricated joist versus a pre.
We're having a structural engineer redesign away from joists and shop fabricated steel trusses. So that steel fabricator can make it here as opposed to waiting. Joists now aren't available until second quarter of next year. And another job that I'm bidding right now, we need them in January, so we had to change something, we just can't keep waiting.
All right, so
The other strategy, Mario, is that we're gonna be looking at pre-detailing of the steel here, so that will help with that lead time as
With the
well.
pre-detailing, are you gonna be able to do what Laurel says, that kind of steel?
We don't have any plans for open web joists right now. It will be all either rolled sections or probably just roll sections, right?
Yeah, joists are a big deal.
So it's open web joists that are the hard thing to get right now. Because,
so can you explain that, Dave? Does that mean you actually go to bid as well earlier?
No, so
on
what
steel?
happens is SLAM and their structural engineer will actually not just draw the steel, typically the steel will show the size of the member, and if this member goes into that one. However, the design team will actually detail each of those connections so that as the trade contractor is bidding it, that work is all done for them. And the only thing that's left for them is to make those minor modifications if they're a weld shop or a bolt shop as far as the connection. So what typically happens is instead of having to take approximately 5 weeks, even longer, to get through the shop drawing process, then be able to release to the mill, you have it. So on a job we did in Groton, the contractor received a limited notice to proceed on a Monday, and they released the mill order that very next day
So-
instead of 6 weeks later.
Plus it gives you tighter bid numbers because the material is already done, all the big.
Yeah,
ones out.
we generate the mill list.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That
and
is great.
it drastically cuts down the questions.
Questions, RFIs.
Right.
changes.
Right. that is-
So walk me through a timeline then. When, and I'm not, obviously we can't hold you to this, but when are we trying to bid by?
Is it March?
So,
Bid by March, yes.
all right, so we're gonna open bids mid-March.
No, that's when it
Oh,
starts.
I'm sorry, go to bid. Okay, so
And
end
we're
of April,
are we
mid-April,
figuring
end of April.
Are we figuring 6 weeks for bidding, Laurel? And are we doing,
Actually,
I figure 6 weeks for bidding, so mid-May we'd be getting numbers in.
okay,
No, mid-April.
But it's the end of March.
going out to bid end of March. All right, so we're in mid-April and we want to start in May, basically, right? Granted that.
well,
Mid-May,
The mid-May.
We're gonna
Mid-May.
end up starting.
starting June.
You know, that leads me to another question I had to remember to ask you. So if we start in mid-May,
June.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
We still think.
I know, I'm trying to push it. In other words, how much time, by the time we stick a shovel in the ground until we need the steel on site? And can we meet it with these kind of backlogs?
Yeah, we've been able to do that. We've been able to tailor the site, the enabling, the whatever major site utility work and foundation work to be, so that steel, when the steel hits, the foundation's ready for it.
Yep.
And we need that. This is a gigantic building. We're building in 30 months, so we need.
Okay, so two things, if I could just say them while I'm remembering, Amy, this has to do with the AD. For planning purposes, then, he's probably gonna get a whole season in next year on the grounds.
Till the end of June, sure.
Yeah, so
Well,
he's,
Yes,
he's good.
next school year, 20.
Yeah.
So he can still use the tennis courts?
He could use everything next year, probably.
Yeah,
And
Okay.
even the parking?
yes.
Everything.
Okay, so that's good, because you guys were wondering about that. And the mayor asked today when a full set of drawings would be available.
I saw that email. I wasn't sure what that was, and I'm sorry.
No, that's
ran
okay.
late to be able to ask for it.
Yeah, she just wants to know when a full set of drawings would be available.
Meaning, like, the schematic design drawings are available.
No,
Does she want construction document drawings?
yeah, when will a final set of drawings be available? And this pertains to the whole building
December?
permit thing. December-ish?
Oh,
When
wait.
are we going
well-
to the state?
Well, are you talking about
January.
to do the actual building permit review?
Yeah, she wants, well, we're lobbying, of course, on the fee.
Yeah.
And she wants to have her people take a look at it.
Construction documents are done when, Laurel?
Construction documents are done, or we'd be at the state February 8th.
Right, but the CD documents would be completed by Slam. Do we have?
Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah.
Okay,
February 8th.
okay.
That's what you usually go.
And
2-1.
those same documents that go to the state also go to local plan review.
Right.
Whether it goes to your building official's office or we hire a third.
No,
party.
I think we're gonna have to hire, we told her that they're so busy that we wanna hire a third, which is in the budget anyway. So,
Yeah.
It's a faster way to go.
yes.
And the state appreciates, they're used to working with certain reviewers.
Well, we have one in town,
Yes, you do.
Urza.
You're saying the city's gonna hire a reviewer? Oh, yeah.
We are.
Will the city accept the city doesn't have anybody?
No, that's why they asked us.
Oh, they did,
It's
okay,
in-
they did.
They have
actually.
to be,
Yeah, we-
and they have to be a certified reviewer, but.
Yeah,
Right.
and the local reviewers are part of the process, so.
Right.
the
They have to
third party-
sign off on it.
The third party will do the review,
Right.
and if they have any citations, we go through them together, we resolve them, and then we have a meeting with the fire marshal, the building officials, they all agree. They sign off on the documents because they have to before we go to the state.
Yeah, no, I listened.
Yeah.
If the mayor wants, there's nobody to look at it.
No, that's why she asked the question. I sent her a letter. We take care of that. It's in the budget, so.
Have we broached the subject about the permit fees?
We did,
Yes.
Hence, probably that question of when the
All's
documents.
gonna
are
work.
right?
we did. We're gonna meet, she's on vacation next week, I'm on vacation next week, he's on vacation the week after, so after that we'll meet.
Next July.
No,
Right.
Probably the. July 13th. July 13th.
I do have a few other slides if you'd like to see some of the value management that we had done.
I just have one question, Mark Foss, for value management. The parking lot where the building's gonna go, do you think your estimate is close enough based on what's underneath there? And
Oh, it accommodates it. That's in there. We had the
Yeah.
geotech
You're
report.
comfortable with it?
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about that. Absolutely.
Is it poured
Actually,
concrete or is it gonna be pier? It's not piers, is it?
Randor.
Ram down here.
What does that mean? Can you explain that?
It's the ground improvement
Right.
process where aggregate is kind of pounded in the ground to give it better bearing capacity. That's the high level response to that.
And that'll be happening.
More
in the
technical than that, that's about all I know.
No, that's all I need to hear.
That should be happening in the summertime next year.
Well, that's gonna be one of the very first things we're gonna have to do is get that. So I guess just one. Right, do we have an actual mobilization date on that, the way that the trajectory of that schedule? I'm just thinking if school goes to the third week of June or something, obviously.
We wouldn't start until they get out of school. That would be my plan. Mobilization, it ends June 23rd.
Okay, so, okay, all right, so at this point, it's.
Census is far that we would be okay with that.
You have graduation on.
We have
campus?
graduation on the field, so we'd like to do it again next year, but.
Everyone bring a shovel to graduation.
Right.
Yeah.
It helps.
And a 5-pound bag to take whatever is there.
Yeah. We'll see how much excess earth we have.
And someone collecting money, pay for,
There you
to
go.
take part of the field,
Commemorative
a
pieces.
memory.
I mean, this size of this job is similar to watching something being built in the city. I mean, this is a pretty complicated and extensive foundation piling or aggregate. It's a pretty complicated, interesting process. It's fun to watch.
Yes, and remember, it's gonna happen in layers, right? I mean, it's-
Correct.
What's gonna
Right,
start in one
right.
spot, we're gonna develop a flow,
Yeah.
and they're still gonna be doing basic excavation work while we've already got concrete in the ground in another part of the building, so it'll, a lot of overlap.
It's fun to watch. Maybe we could charge people.
Well,
It is.
We have,
Spectators.
Allison's putting up a camera.
Yeah.
for us.
Camera.
Well, a camera,
24-hour
but if you
camera.
want to go there with an ice cream cone later, it's $3 to park.
Yeah, we'll have a live stream camera set up, so.
Okay, that'd be fantastic.
So that'll be fundraising for the
Yeah. Right,
artificial
right.
turf.
I was thinking more for the stage crew.
Move on?
Yep.
Okay. So to Gary's point, we looked closely at, and ONG did a wonderful study for us on cut and fill.
Can you
For the
explain that to
soil.
them what that means?
Sure.
Sure. Go
So
ahead.
we take the information that's provided to us with all the existing grades that are out there, and they put it into this program called Ag Tech, and they then input all of the new grades where bottom of footing is, and the computer analyzes it and it determines how much earth we're gonna dig out, or fill, how much earth we have to bring back in to try to balance the site.
Can you go to the next slide? Before I explain this. Here,
There
here's-
you go.
this is a clip. This is not the full site. They did the full site. I zoomed in and just did a clip on a portion of the site. And I'm gonna,
Yellow is generally good. That's somewhat close to, it's somewhat neutral. You don't want blue and you don't want red. Is really the big
Right.
picture.
so here's a takeaway. What we learned is that basement area where we were going to put middle school locker rooms and the mechanical rooms is a major area of cut. You're cutting 10.5 feet in this area, 9.5 feet in this area. And so the pink is the color we're trying to avoid. As a value management, what we decided to do and worked our tails off in the past 2 weeks to do is move the middle school locker rooms upstairs in between the two gymnasiums, high school and middle school. And we took that accommodated a portion of this basement. The rest of this basement, which was mechanical rooms, we're sliding over here. And it's going to be in the same area. This yellow is the lower level of the high school, where you might remember we have the preschool, we have ROTC. And so if we put the mechanical rooms in that same wing across from those spaces behind locked doors, it does a few things. One, the elevator no longer has to come down to a lower level here. The stairs no longer have to come to a lower level here. This set of stairs goes away entirely. And we avoid doing all of that cut. And we offset this green, which is fill. So now all of that area becomes yellow, which is on grade. So it was a big savings. Just to do that one move, it was about a $2 million savings.
Wow.
So if you go back a slide, I'm sorry, I put these in the wrong order. This shows in pink where we took the middle school locker rooms upstairs. In white, there's these mechanical rooms here and slid them over. And so that was the savings that we gained there.
And what had been there? Did it replace anything or is it added space on that floor?
On that floor, the lower level was not excavated. On the upper level, there were some storage rooms that were associated with both gymnasiums, one facing one facing the other. We're putting the middle school locker rooms there. We're putting storage back in this 2-story volume where we had some additional space. It didn't cut anything.
Those mechanicals now, they're gonna reside beneath classrooms?
Actually, there's a corridor in that area on the first floor.
Yeah.
And here, there are bathrooms, offices, there's no teaching space in that area.
The question is just the obvious, I mean, are
It's
there any
not
noise
noisy.
issues?
No, this is the water, water will come in here. The main electric room will be here, that's silent.
Right.
Main data distribution. The fans and the air distribution are gonna be on the roof. We'll worry about the acoustics from there separately.
Is Bessie Pond, is that spring fed? Or is that? Bessie Pond?
I think there's an inlet that comes from the east.
Yeah, I think there's I don't know, I wouldn't say it's a spring,
No.
but there's a culvert that comes into it
You
Yeah,
guys have
behind the
done
tennis
core
courts.
samples already.
they drained it a couple
I
times.
just, I know from a horrendous experience that it wasn't accounted for, place I used to work. and The
Oh,
cost overruns when it's.
the water table in this
Natural
area.
spring
Water table is really low.
It's unbelievable how much it costs after the fact, to figure it out, once they figured that out. Okay, but all the testing has been done for that already. Right.
And the water table in the area where we're putting the building is actually low enough that it's not a concern.
Okay.
It's higher at the fields ironically, I think because it's at the toe of that big hill.
Yeah, yeah.
So next, now we can skip the next slide, go to the next one. This is a tough one, I'm sure, for the administrators, but one that we really appreciated as far as cost goes. In green, you might recall the corridor for high schoolers to get to the locker rooms back here. And, oh, in pink, those are those new middle school locker rooms. Just get that out of the way. In green, this corridor from here to there represents 2,600 or 2,400 square feet. I have it on my list. But that represented $700,000. So Ed and Mario talked to Sue. I think Sue mulled it over with others. And the administration came back and said it's okay to take that corridor away. What we're going to do is reduce the building square footage by that amount. And it's a $700,000 savings. From what I understand, and I'll let one of you speak up, this front corridor, which also gets you to the same location, will have monitors in place, additional security, which will be in the building anyway, because you're combining middle and high school.
We have about 6 security guards in that building, so they're gonna put a little room there, so
Right
during
there.
passing, they'll be out there.
Yeah, so we have an alcove next to the middle school stair where we think there's a nice touchdown space for security, whether it's one of the SROs or someone else filling that position between classes. So at least that corridor can be monitored. Make sure that nothing bad takes place.
That will be part of their responsibilities.
So they'll mix.
Well, they will
what'll
cross.
happen is and the timing of classes is not clear to me. I'm not sure if it's been figured out yet, if middle school and high school will be on the same bell schedule. So high schoolers, when it's their crossing time, will need to come from the academic wing and across to the PE locker rooms or their gym. Middle schoolers will come from their corridor straight into the gym, and their locker rooms are a direct access off of the gym. So there's a bit of savings. The middle schoolers no longer have to go downstairs, get changed, and come back up. But right here, middle schoolers will be going to the gym, and high schoolers will be crossing to go to their gym. So that's where there was a concern of whether or not the mix is sort of dependent upon the bell schedule, because it could be off cycle.
And, to Sue's point, that's gonna be the security guy's responsibility to be right at that post when the bell rings. Now, we're not crazy about it either, but I think it will be all right. And it's further offset, I think, by having high schoolers going down. I don't even know how many lineal feet that is. It looks to be a football
The
field.
green?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
Several hundred.
yeah, that's
couple, 300
that's almost
feet.
300 feet long. That's
So, high schoolers in an enclosed corridors wasn't great either.
The crazy about.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
You
So-
probably would have needed
A security
guard.
guard.
Or
Probably
more than one.
Yeah.
So,
Camera.
after speaking to the Sues, we think it's manageable. It's not ideal, but go
Just-
ahead.
Question where the cafeterias are. Are they closed to that corridor?
Good question. They are not closed to the corridor, but we haven't designed yet what's taking place. It will be filtered, because there will be some columns that are there, structural columns, and so we might build display cases around the column, or just some partial height walls. But for the most part, the dining halls will feel more like a student center kind of open area.
No, I appreciated that,
Except
but
between them.
but I was thinking
not
when the
between
high schoolers are coming down to go down that corridor, they're going to go past the middle school cafeteria.
Yes,
So you don't want a low wall so they can throw things over.
that's true.
I-
Good point.
I had lunch duty for years, so I.
Still scarred.
Well, we were just talking about what this wall should be. Now that this corridor goes away, we could no longer have anything blocking the corridor right here. Originally, we had designed this as an operable partition that closed all the way to that wall of the band room, because then you could really separate the population.
Could you do an operable partition this way? Along the
way.
corridor?
Run it to the
That
column.
way. Well, those operable partitions, it turns out, are $100 and something $1,000. So
Mario will
it
pay
was a
for the
savings.
Gary will put them
Gary
in.
Little folding paper.
I just, that was my thought with middle school and high school kids. I was picturing,
So we are gonna have a partition that's fixed there from here to here, rather than the operable one.
right,
We're thinking.
Oh,
To keep the two dining halls separate. Their serveries will also be separate, so they come in,
Right.
get their food and go out only in their
So
own.
we're sitting there.
yeah.
But just so that I'm clear, working off of what Sharon asked, that,
red line.
This red line,
yeah, no.
No, the
I-
hallway,
corridor.
the
Is it
length of the
open
hallway.
Corridor,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
so
it's
is
open.
that's open, so high schoolers would have to walk through that northeast part of that
At the
middle
back of
school
the middle school
cafeteria,
cafeteria.
if they had to get to the gym during.
Yes. I think that it will not feel like they are walking through the cafeteria.
Right.
The ceiling height in the cafeteria portion is probably higher than the portion that's corridor. There's a soffit between them, and so there will be sort of a distinction. It will feel like you're in a separate space, even though there's not a.
As long as there's
wall
no
the whole
throwing
way.
space.
Well, I mean, it's open, so.
Right, so we'll have to talk about what we're gonna do in terms of
Right.
that, because we haven't quite gotten to that level. We had to solve the locker room problem.
Right,
And
right.
it does solve having the middle schoolers going downstairs. to
I like the
rooms,
locker
which I
room.
never liked.
Yeah, the locker room
Anyway,
makes much more
that's-
sense.
I
Yeah,
like this
it'll
design.
just
much
make
better.
we
yeah,
can
like a
make
little
it
more
I think
Right,
intense.
possible, staggered.
The whole cafeteria, kitchen,
If I may just add that we probably should do a couple of versions for a cafeteria and dining room and bring it to you to see the different degrees of separation and select one that would be most appropriate.
Versions of
that's
it.
Julia.
Yes,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's Julia speaking, saying
Yeah.
we'll do a couple versions of the cafeteria, the wall between them, and how it's segregated from the corridor.
Yeah, that's what I was just. gonna
Thank
say.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect cue.
So just, is the high school cafeteria on the high school side?
Yes,
So will there be a locking door into that middle school wing?
Not anymore.
you mean here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there.
There.
Well, so we haven't talked about this with the security committee yet, but I would suspect that you all, in an after hours time, when an outside group might be using one of the gyms, or when there's a performance going on in the auditorium, you wouldn't want the public to wander down the corridor of the academic wing or get through the stair system and up into the middle school academic areas. So I suspect that somewhere just after this bank of toilet rooms, we would have a cross corridor set of doors that might be in the open position during all of the school day.
That
And then
really
closed.
concerns me if we're losing that back and if we're not gonna have, I don't want high schoolers in there.
Right,
Right.
yes, I agree. That is no change from
No,
previous design, though.
It was just less obvious because the high schoolers would have been
Would have
brought
been
elsewhere, but.
Oh, so you still would have had a door there?
Yes,
Okay.
Right, but the high schoolers would be in the back. I think.
Right,
So for me, it seemed much more
there is one
separated.
time also that I want to point out, just so everyone knows, that the bus entrance is this loop, which you might remember from the previous site plan. And so high schoolers are going to be directed into these doors from bus drop off. Middle schoolers will be directed into doors that are going to be here, but high schoolers will be directed into here, and they probably will go to the cafeteria at the beginning of the day. So if they get dropped off at the parent loop, they would come down the first floor corridor along the courtyard and end up here. If they get dropped off by buses, they would come in here, cross that middle school wing and get to here. But that's the only way that they can enter from the bus loop too. So there is that crossing at that day. Although middle schoolers will not be in there. Theoretically, they'll get off the same bus, but they'll go to a different door.
But do they, if they're early, do they go to their cafeteria?
No, from what we understand, the middle schoolers go directly to their first period class. So that's a convenience that there's a stair right here in this end of this wing. This is all too small for me to show you now, I'm sorry, but they'll enter here, they'll be able to go right upstairs to their academic class.
Thank
you. When do you have like a rough model to demonstrate for the committee? I mean, would it be digital or would you do it
We have a model.
of that,
Mhm.
showing what the logistics would be and people moving to do it?
A full Revit model, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we, again, as we move into design development, we'll share the model, we'll be in it with the user groups and those meetings, like the focus groups that we had before, and really dig into what's happening in each of the spaces. We'll share it 3D, 2D.
I think along those same general lines, as far as the mix of the high school and the middle school students, what happens when there's a fire drill? As far as what if there's two groups of one upper school, lower school in the gym area or cafeteria area? Can you still keep them separate?
So I don't know the procedure that the school uses currently, but we will have more than enough exits available for everyone. Out of this gym, there are 4. Out of this gym, there are 3. Out of the auditorium, there are 4. So, and then out of the academic wings, each wing has their own stair towers. The high school wing has 3 stair towers, and then they'll directly exit, as well as the middle school has 2 stair towers that have direct.
I think it'll have to be administratively managed. For example, if there are middle schoolers in the gym, they could come out to here. If there are high schoolers in that gym, they could go out to the loading dock area. And then, you've got a divide here. You could cordon off zones of the courtyard for the 2 cohorts. I think it can be managed.
And the fire marshal works with us on all of our.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can go on to the next slide. So in this axon, there are a few other large-scale value engineering, value management items to point out. We were showing 4-sided roof screens at every potential air handling unit. And once we do a review of the planning and zoning, we think we can reduce the number of roof screens. So we took a savings there in advance. We also were showing large walls at the roof area here, where we know that there will be mechanical units above the kitchen and mechanical units to serve these lower first floor spaces. And so that would hide it from Route 8 and from the field, the view of the fields. But we can accommodate that with smaller scale roof screens where necessary, and take a reduction and not have to build those full height walls that sort of hide the roof. And then it's a question as to whether or not you need to hide mechanical units from Route 8 anyway. So we'll look at that as we move along too. The other thing that this shows, which is hard to see, is we had horizontal sunshades on all of the high school classrooms, and we're reducing that by 50% because you need less on one side than the other for sun shading, and vertical sunshade on the middle school wing, and we're doing the same thing, reducing by 50%. That's a conservative estimate, and that's what we've taken right now to, and is included in that reduction in the budget. But we also have the energy modeler looking at, number one, your energy use for the building based on the schematic design, and number two, a daylighting study, so that we can kind of learn how much light is going to penetrate each classroom and what's the right amount of sunshades that's necessary to avoid glare and really get the best use of the daylight. Then we can put the lighting fixtures on daylight sensors and reduce your energy cost by not having them turn on near the window.
The screen, or the roof fence, I put them on big warehouses. If we can avoid them, they're great to avoid because snow drift, depends how they're fastened and where they put them, but we'd have to send guys up to shovel it off, to shovel off the areas that snow drifted. I'm not saying it's a roof load problem, I don't.
Right.
But it's so much easier without them just protecting the units.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's a nightmare.
Yes, so another thing that we talked about to that point, Gary, is rather than putting units on the gymnasium, we're gonna try to tuck them in between this gym and that gym. And then they'll be more out of sight anyway.
Yep.
And something else this is labeled BE6, as I pointed here, it reminded me. We had shown clerestory windows for natural light at the upper portion of all four sides of that middle school gym. As a part of this value management, we're reducing it to just two sides. And that same two sides will be on the high school gym as well. So there was a reduction in windows, storefront is what it's called.
Maybe we'll get a gym with no
One more
roof leaks.
thing here, we were showing, this is a membrane roof on the auditorium, and it has false ribs to make it look like a metal roof. So 50% of those are gone, savings of over $100,000. So easy, that was an easy decision. We can go. This shows many of the same strategies. I think I might have already discussed them all but here at this location, we're going to reduce the amount of windows into the gymnasium by 50%. And actually right here, these all go away as a part of that reduction of the corridor. So well, we took it at BE19, which was a reduction of windows, that whole square footage goes away. Double check, make sure that's not a double, I think.
Yeah. And what does it become?
That will be,
It's
we
not
will have a
corridor.
few windows to the, if we have to make a decision of where the middle school health classroom is. It was in the area where we put the locker rooms. So we have to offset that and bring it around. There's a corridor here alongside the gym. We might put it right here. But we haven't quite settled on that location yet. But whatever is here, mostly it's storage that's associated with the loading dock and the custodial area, which does not need windows. And then we're just tweaking and looking as we manipulate all of this after taking out the corridor. We have to redesign some of those back of house spaces.
So it's not just dead space.
No, it won't be. It's all going to be highly programmed.
Mhm.
So I think that's all I have. Do I have another slide? I put things out of order. So yes, we're done.
Okay, any questions? Yeah, Mario and I and Suze went through every item. One thing on the pending budget management, items that we rejected are not included there. So just let you know. Yeah. The $4 million, we went through that list. We're still pricing it, and there are items that we will not, they will not price because we said rejected. No.
Amy, has this changed from yesterday to today?
Yes.
It has, yes.
Because it's a living doc, so Bruce called me on the way.
You
here,
guys send it
said he
over?
Updated some other things. so
I
it's-
hope I got it. The last time I updated our slideshow was about, what, 3:30? When did I send it to you?
Yeah, 3:30.
No, I think because I talked to him at like, I don't know, it was around there, so it's the benefit of the living document, right?
It might be.
Never the same.
Can you send
We
it
don't
over?
wite anything down unless it's better, so.
Can you send it over to us?
Yeah.
Yeah, just put the date on it so we know it's next one.
And the
And the
time
time.
for.
And the
And the
time.
time. Down to the minute.
I ask every week, and I keep forgetting. Is there a portal we can access? Once you put everything in, do we have a
Yes.
portal or not?
Yes, so we have a project website. You might have received an email with access
Yeah.
information.
I'll check with Donna. if she gets everything.
Oh, I remember we got the project
Yeah.
website.
So we can go to the website and just look through the files.
Yeah, you
Right,
look
so
through minutes.
What we do is we
agenda,
put meeting minutes, we
all
put
these
all the
slideshows.
focus group meeting minutes up there, we put all these presentations. We
Right.
put them up
And the
electronically.
spreadsheets and the cost sheets, estimates.
Will this be on there? or
I
no?
haven't put that there yet. If you'd like me to, I can. It's
I
a
would.
matter of, it's password protected, so only those of you on the building committee and the administration have access. I'm more than happy to post it.
If you send me, tomorrow,
Thank you.
Monday,
Alex.
if you send me the big sheets, we'll,
I'll put it as a PDF and then I can send it to you on 11:17
Yeah,
format.
yeah.
You can print that? Okay.
Just
So
ask one other
usually,
What?
here,
Another
you can
question.
go to design and then schematic design and you'll see some documentation. So for example, final SD set, presentations. And then there might be stuff. So this is the schematic design narrative and the drawing set that O&G and our estimator used for this pricing. Here's what it looks like.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, can
Yeah.
I just ask, I hate to keep going, but because the gym is 2 stories, could we bring the high schoolers into their gym on like a catwalk versus a back that 20 square feet?
We don't have a second story there. That would be added cost and you,
We'd have to have back that same square footage that we took out.
yeah, it would
in
just
order to
be
do that.
on an upper level.
Pam, are you looking for them to vote to go into DD?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that.
Yeah,
Sorry, you're gonna take care of that, vote?
yeah.
Oh,
We, with all this estimates and so forth, we just want a consensus that they can go to design development, the next step over. So,
As long as everyone likes what they see.
see so far,
Yeah. Commercial.
okay?
I'm really concerned about that middle school, high school joint corridor.
Seems like there might have to be a dedicated security officer, right? at
Right.
that
Well,
junction.
that's what we're talking about, yeah.
But also,
And
when
a
it-
schedule, a staggered spell schedule.
I was just gonna
because
say, I
we're
think
have
that
to offset.
the administration could probably work that through.
Right.
But even if they're not changing, just-
well, they're gonna look at the cafeteria and the walkthrough anyway.
Yeah, and that would
We're
help.
gonna look at everything for the next 3 months together. So, and that's 3-4 months of design.
You had a question?
Yeah, this is up, this is out of left field, but the people who know me, they know I'm prone to this.
No.
Tell me about this. Just, I going all the way back to the beginning of the conversation, just about the field usage. Is there tennis? How many people play tennis? How many?
Oh, well,
It's-
boys and girls,
Yeah.
varsity and G.
Yep.
So I would, Jesus, I don't know, I would say 14, yeah, 30 maybe.
My daughter plays
Total.
at 12, so 14.
30 total.
Well, just again, just as a suggestion, and you can tell me can't be done because of statute and everything else. I mean, I was just wondering why, it ties up so much, real estate where it is, right?
It does.
Is there any possibility that those courts could be moved like the Albert Park? And then we provide we would simply have vans that would bring the kids there at the end of each day. The coaches would bring them there, and that would be.
I guess
the
it
tennis
depends
court.
what we accomplish by doing it, you know?
Well, you get all that real estate back in
Right.
the backfield, and it just, everything feels just, to me, it's my first time seeing it, and it just feels like this. And I honestly think with that, I'm city council, you gotta sell this, we think about selling it, city council to, the public and everything else.
Well, Paul's been sold
But
already.
part of this, well, look at guys. Part of what the city is interested in, certainly the mayor and certainly the city council, is this becomes a huge asset to sell to people and companies considering moving to Torrington.
That's our goal as well.
And we don't want, and we do ourselves a disservice if people show up and they walk to the back of that field and they see playing fields, that are on top of each other, and it just feels congested and not, it feels overly articulated. That'll be the nice way of saying it. And I'm just wondering if there's a way around that, because again, you have that relatively few students tying up tennis courts, and and there's a possibility you could get the city. I'm not saying this, but I'm not certainly going to put word in Elmer's mouth, but maybe if the city gets involved in building out those tennis courts as multi-use for the city of Livonia, then that becomes a budgetary attraction, I would think, to the Board of Ed. In the meantime, you get a lot of that. You get a lot more space to play with, and it doesn't feel like everything is shoehorned in.
I think two things.
Yeah.
Let's see what they come up with, right? As far as the pathways, the roadways, the parking lots. And second, to your point, the golf team does it. They go to Torrington or Fairview or wherever the hell they're going nowadays. So they get bussed up there. So it's not impossible.
Swim
But
team used to do it to why, I don't know if they still do.
We have
but I mean,
swim team
we have
used to.
a history of that.
I mean, we would like to see all the kids compete on campus if we could, but it is tight. It is tight. The bad part is, there used to be tennis courts at Fuchsia Park.
Well, they used to be
Gone.
kind of, in the 70s and 80s, we used to bus them to, not Fairview,
Oh, up in Nicholson's place.
no, Torrington West Street.
Oh,
Golf course.
Yeah, Eastwood.
Oh,
Eastwood's,
Eastwood's has,
right,
we bus
right.
them.
We used to
Yeah.
have them there too.
Yes.
So Torrington is wicked short of tennis courts. Wicked short. So it's,
Right now, I'm negotiating, because we know the tennis courts are gone, with Lakeridge. So, because they're going through their board. to see
so we could use them while we're
who
under
we see.
construction.
Correct, right. So
What about Pinewoods?
I didn't, did Lakeridge first and then
Yeah.
Pine.
Durant Street, doesn't that still have tennis courts?
Excuse
I
me?
think it does.
Durant Street, yeah.
Yeah.
How many?
they have-
Two?
they have two.
Just two.
It might be something to bring to for
And
Parks
not
and Rec
separated.
development though, too.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to just all develop under Board of Education. I'm probably speaking up.
No, the town.
As a city
definitely-
council
That's what
person, but
proposing
I.
it.
Yeah, the
yeah.
town
There's that much
definitely
need for tennis courts.
We
in Torrington.
do. I mean, the
Blow
small
it out
town
and
I
just the
was
Board
in,
of
tennis courts
Education
were
takes
big.
it off your budget,
Yeah.
and then it makes that a lot more manageable. And again, I do think about, we want
They're gonna do
busloads of other families from other competing schools when they come to Torrington to walk back there and be impressed. Okay, and not have to gerrymander and work their way around, convoluted sort of field to get to where their kids are playing that day. It just does not create an optimal experience. It doesn't.
What do you got, Al?
I'm not gonna disagree.
What you see in the plans, with every single season overlaid on top of each other, I wonder if it would help if you separate the seasons out into different schematics.
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Fall, winter,
It's a
spring.
very good idea.
Yeah, I'll
Because
be
then
happy to do
it
that.
won't look as crowded because you have them all on top of each other.
That's true. And then the other thing I was thinking is putting your existing drawing as a precursor to these.
Yeah.
Because if you look at what you have today, number of fields,
Mhm.
and then you look at what you're getting, and see the number of fields on the proposed plan, I think it is very generous. And I think it's gonna be a fabulous location. Tennis courts are not there. So I think you're gonna feel like it's really grand. I'm excited for it.
As
shown.
with the tennis courts there.
With the tennis, if someone else can provide the tennis courts somewhere off campus, that's great. We
Yeah.
can expand the
I think
fields even more.
The challenge,
But I think we can do it with the tennis courts there.
the challenge would be, we gotta build it.
Right.
And I don't know if the city has the wherewithal or the money
We never have the wherewithal or the
to,
money.
to build it along, to build it along the same time frame.
But we can
as
do
we
a
need it.
splash pad, so I'm thinking we could do tennis
We're gonna
court.
have $50 million left over. We'll decide what-
2025, Paul, we gotta be playing tennis.
And I do know
somewhere.
too, and you probably know this, if we're already busing the swimmers and who else we're busing?
Golf.
Golf teams, what does it cost to do that?
Well,
And
the
what would the
golf
cost
team,
be to do that?
the golf team uses our own buses. So it's
Yeah,
just.
oh yeah, they would definitely use our
Yeah,
bus.
Who drives
Tennis
it?
uses it.
Yeah.
Who drives it?
Our,
We
she
have,
gets paid.
we have 2 or 4 drivers or
Yeah,
something.
2 or 4
So you're
drivers.
paying drivers.
Oh,
to do
yes,
that.
no doubt
Okay.
about it. They're in the athletic.
$80, I don't know.
But there are,
We
they're not
bought
the
our
city bus, they're not the
Yeah.
bus
They're not-
company's
they're not
buses,
all-
they're
Yeah,
our
but it's still
buses,
expensive.
right,
I'm
yeah.
just wondering what's-
So
Yeah.
we're paying like a
A
paraprofessional.
paraprofessional.
Well,
to-
Paul, let
to
me ask you
drive.
this though. We're just now starting to pay fees on baseball fields.
Yeah.
We don't want to get into that same situation on tennis court either. I think it's $200 they
Right.
want for a baseball
Yeah,
game.
every
That's
game,
just
$200.
Yeah, and
For the Torrington High School to play there.
Double taxation.
What's the
Well-
cost for a swimming? A lot.
That would be a very good conversation between the Board of Ed and the city.
But
council.
it's great.
I think we
Again,
should
this-
bring it up because personally, I think that just throwing fees out right away is not telling the people that the plus is going up. I think if you need to increase it, you do it incrementally. I don't think you
Oh, we
just
went
throw
from
it out there
0
and
to
make it
200,
big.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I agree with you, but I think maybe that's a discussion that we need to have together. And
Tried to get it started, but it didn't go
I
anywhere.
know,
So if you can,
right.
get it started.
We're just
We did,
worried
we
that
initiated.
tennis has to start this
Now.
time.
Well,
And
never
if we-
mind tennis. They gotta
Right,
finish their
of course,
work. They
right.
gotta finish their drawing.
Right, and if we don't get a commitment,
Right, oh, I understand. No, I agree on
It's,
that.
listen, it's not a bad idea.
Well, you could show it,
Right.
take it off.
Because,
Take it off.
especially because the city is so short on tennis courts.
Well, why don't we, I mean, as quickly as can be put together, I don't know if we need even the architects there for that. I mean, you just give us the schematics, you put it in front of the city council. I mean, I'll talk to Eleanor about putting it on an agenda and say, here's one. We're not asking the whole grand scheme, A or B. You know, if we did, this is what it looks like this way, this is what it looks like that way. If we go this way and try to move it, blah, blah. I've had I know the mayor is not at all opposed to the idea of taking some of this functionality and moving it to, for instance, in Albert Park. You know, I know that for a fact. The rest of the council,
Well, I
I
mean,
think they could be convinced, but where the money, we'll have to talk about the money. How much is in the budget for, I mean, how do you break that down? To what is in the budget to do that? And it would be available to the city.
Well, we can't.
You can't hop
If
the
we
fence.
build it off-site,
it's,
we don't get,
we don't get.
we don't get that
Yeah.
85% reimbursement.
No,
If we're paying for it, that defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Other than the busy.
But the skate park has to have a new home. You know, so maybe those two things go hand in hand.
There you go.
I don't know where you guys.
Oh, skaters
Not in
and
my
tennis.
yard.
Far away from the high school as it can.
Right.
I don't think you want this.
Maybe
But
it
let's
is
think
out
about,
there.
let's think
There's
about
the
having
sports
one
one
thing
here.
really
Would that
joint
open up
and
for more
coherent
projects?
and conversation
Maybe
about this. We've got
student
multiple
parking because of
needs,
where it is.
okay?
So they
And we've
wouldn't
got
have
this
to
thing
come
that,
from
you know, this
back.
large project
I think we
that
would
needs
do a
to
redesign
move
on site.
forward. Let's see if we
Whatever,
can
yeah.
find some
Tell you,
synergy
Paul, what
here.
I would do, because it's been worthless since the day it was built, I would put it on, remember the twin field at Albert Park?
Yeah.
The one on the right-hand side as you're coming down the driveway. It's dirt, it's sand, it's never grown grass. Leave the left-hand soccer field, and put your skate park and tennis courts there.
You're not gonna put skate parks and tennis courts. They're not gonna go together.
What can I tell you? The skate park's gotta go somewhere.
I understand, but.
What
Oh,
about
no, no,
behind
no,
the
no.
armory where the old tennis courts used to be?
Just this-
Well,
it's a class
I
spacing
don't want to
analysis.
open a can of worms. Is there space at the middle school to do tennis courts at some point?
Well, there used to be.
No. I don't know,
Oh, we should leave it now the way it is, but you don't take it off the table because all they have to do is lift it off
right,
their drawings.
right.
You know what the cost is, I don't know, what is it, $1 million or $600,000?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's like $100,000 a court.
Right, so
Yeah.
it's 200.
Six,
Six courts.
4 courts and 2.
Yeah, well, 6 would be great, because right now, like I said, the tennis matches are forever.
So that's something that we know can come off and save 600.
And I like going to the seasonal approach to this is what it looks like now, because I think it's a much better concept to sell to the public as well.
Is it too much to ask to see that overview one more time?
And Ally might be able to pull it up. They'd like to see the overview of the.
How soon do you think it would take to see the walkways and pathways? I mean, I agree with Paul, I wouldn't underestimate the value of us seeing that.
I agree. So I would love it if Ally can pull up one of the rendered site plans. And then the one that we were working on, that it's a little scattered because they're all overlapping.
The presentation is how to work. Okay. What slide?
Where, last,
Yeah.
the last three slides.
So Amy, do you need a decision tonight? Otherwise, this delays the whole process.
We don't need a decision
No.
on tennis courts tonight.
No.
We need a decision on moving forward into design
Right.
development.
Yeah, all right,
I
let's
think
make a
we're in the
motion.
middle of
Can we have a motion to go, to move the next step to design development? I move. Pat, second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Get to work.
Great.
Whatever.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, get to work tomorrow.
So as you can see on this, because this one is rendered already, this was our original plan. We're showing, how the sidewalks get you from each location, parking to this field, that field, this tennis court, that field. And so you can see that little network of paths and stuff. When we layer that on, and when the space between the fields that you saw is green, I think it'll really help that other slide. So if you want to look at this one, understand how it's presented, and then we can move forward to the last slide, Ally.
Believe it or not, I don't know.
Yeah. Imagine that after it's been rendered and you're only seeing the final version. And to Ally's point, if we're only showing one season at a time, I think we'll have two versions of this. One where you see the lines for the multi-purpose field, which would be your fall sports, and then one where you see the lines for the baseball field, and that'll be your spring sport.
But obviously you can't have a pathway where we were.
No, but you would have one along here,
Yeah,
I have to.
No, I know you're.
Yeah, I
okay with
can't
it.
point right now without letting them design it. We also have to take into consideration that there is, there's elevation changes that we need to accommodate.
Okay,
Okay.
well, I think it's an interesting point to
Yeah.
discuss.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry, but just to not lose the big forest, the reason we're doing this is because it allows us to get one more field for middle school in there. Because prior to that, we had talked about maybe busing them
That's
somewhere
right.
else.
Yeah,
Which we don't want to.
Which
We
is,
don't want to do it.
and those are much greater numbers.
Yeah.
To
Baseball
Paul's
teams
point,
have-
it's not, it doesn't impact a huge amount of people. Listen, the city does need tennis courts, but those are gonna be the city's tennis courts.
They don't maintain them.
Those are gonna be the city's, yes, dear.
How much is it to clear some of that back area to put the tennis courts where the slope
It's,
is?
it's,
Yeah, you can't stop the slope.
it's too big of a
Very,
slope.
very, very expensive.
Yeah.
The $600,000 for the tennis courts
LA?
probably double.
You'd have 600,000 on the wall.
So at the middle school now are 3 or 4 fields,
I
correct?
know where you're going with it.
We don't
So
own some of them.
if we don't own where the football is,
Yeah.
but those
Or
fields are
baseball.
the cities.
Colangelo, we don't.
We
Those
don't own it,
those
but you
softball
drive in, you
fields
own
are the
it, right.
cities.
Right, Little League fields. or
Just the two
whatever.
soccer
The ones in the
fields.
back.
Just the two soccer fields.
So
And
if
the
they
and two
became the
Right.
tennis,
But then
that would be a
Torrington-
tennis complex.
The state wouldn't pay for it.
Torrington.
No,
needs
no, we
soccer,
can't pay
though,
for it.
with
We can't
the
pay for it.
ability, all the kids
My
can
God,
You
that'll
can't
be
pay for
just
it. They don't
throwing it
have
away.
soccer there. The
No,
ones
we can't pay for it.
behind.
Yeah.
If you come into the middle school is here, you come into the middle school and the fields are over here, not these fields.
Yeah, but Alan, the state won't pay for it.
I'm not asking the
not
state to
asking that
pay
you
for
do.
them, I'm just
Why don't
saying for the city, because they're
Yeah, why don't
city
we,
fields.
Why don't we call it a meeting,
Yeah.
and anybody who wants to sit around and spitfire,
Yeah,
let's do that.
Okay.
Because others have to leave.
Right.
All right, now,
Next.
next meeting, guys.
Oh, we still got.
Wait, we got another-
Oh, we got this.
Payment of invoices. These guys want to get paid.
No, we skip over
Let's
that.
table that. Let's table that.
Construction
Didn't you
solutions.
say they already paid? I thought I
No,
heard
no,
you
no.
say they already paid.
Construction solutions, their monthly payment of $19,534.40. Have a motion to approve. Pat,
Wait a second.
Gary,
Gary,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next one, SLAM. Their total is $835,100. They've been waiting until the contract's been signed, so now they can
So
get paid.
moved.
Second, Fiona, second, Gary.
Yep. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Just let you know, I attached the MOU that the PLA signed, and we have a career fair this Saturday at the high school. So if you can attend, it's been advertised and you saw the thing. So also, next year, we're gonna have 4 of them, plus the apprenticeship program. Plus, my friend who owns a business will be doing what do they call it? 3D printing as an apprentice. He can't find people. So he will have a show there during the career fair with 3D printing. He does that all over the country.
Nice. Has that been on ZBG,
Excuse me?
the career fair?
Has it been in ZBG?
I heard it the other day.
You did?
Did you?
Yeah, we sent it out to
Yeah.
all the,
Okay, good. I just hadn't heard it, so I just.
We can ask them to do it again
yeah,
tomorrow.
and it should be in the papers tomorrow.
Oh, good.
And I've seen it on different places on Facebook.
Yeah, there's been a lot of chatter about it. People are excited.
Yeah.
It's one of the great things. 10 years, remember? 10 years, my last 10 years. And see 600 kids get jobs.
You'll walk in 9 years and go, oh, that's a good thing.
All right,
It's great. Parking lot at Lowe's.
no good.
Oh.
Very disappointing. The owner of the property said absolutely. And Lowe's ran it up to management and they said no. And I gave them a little help, but I half want to go to planning and zoning, and see if they're supposed to have all that stuff piled up back there. But I will not. So long story
The
short,
landlord or what?
we don't have any parking.
Is it the landlord? Is it
Well,
someone else?
the
or the building or just
tenant,
Lowe's?
Lowe's said no.
It's
The
their-
land-
it's their lease
The
space.
landlord said, sure, as long as it's okay with Lowe's. I told him we'd stripe the lot. I told him we'd put up a temporary fence.
You know what you might want to propose if you want to enter into a license, that we can insure it if that's a problem with their liability. We can get.
Oh my God, I told him the city would insure it. Yeah.
They said no.
Think about it, 200 kids parking their car on your property every day.
Yeah. No, I
A lot
know.
of risk.
Okay, wrap it, Eddie.
Yeah, just let you know also, we sent around, we're doing it early. The track will be closed next week. We're resurfacing the track and doing that, so
The turf got cleaned after.
the turf got
graduation.
cleaned up right after graduation Wednesday. 5 bags of
Garbage.
garbage that we got out of it, so it's all clean again. The turf looks great again, and it's gonna last at least 14 to 15 years, which they only give you 10 years, but we do it 4 times a year, so it's great.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, next meeting.
Oh, hold on. Comments of the good of the order? No. Donna?
No, just thank everybody on the work city and us on the PLA agreement.
Sharon, anything?
No, I'm happy about the PLA myself.
Casey?
No, good.
Casey.
Anything?
Good.
Yeah,
I think it's nice to see Paul and Sharon here. Sharon's been here, but.
Yeah.
Yep, keep coming,
Paul-
guys. Paul's here one time, he had a good idea already.
I can be the.
Don't give him credit.
We'll get it for you.
It'll
Don't
expand
give him
his
too
head.
much praise.
Yeah.
No.
You don't want to encourage him.
It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, so he's got a lot of time.
He'll come back when he has another one.
Yeah.
Ellen, anything?
Just great information and thank you again for your patience with
Well,
all the
thank you, Ellen.
questions.
Fiona?
I just also want to thank Mr. Cavanero and Ms. Wagner for coming. I think it's great and it's the community project, so we welcome any input.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. And
Thank you.
thanks like the
Al.
rest of Sharon.
MVP tonight with the idea to the whole overlay
I
thing.
know, listen, that's why we should get the big bucks. Let me tell you.
Why did we think of that?
Future meeting, next meeting, we're changing it. It's gonna be on Tuesday, July 13th at 5 o'clock. The reason why we're doing that, because
Board
I'm
of Ed,
away.
none of the Board of Ed can be there.
What?
None of the Board of Ed can be there on the 13th.
Oh, no?
I went begging off, I'm having cataract surgery so I
Oh.
can see you better the next time.
You don't want that.
Uh,
Should we change it?
Yeah,
Our
Or
retreat.
retreat.
You want to do it back on Thursday?
back on Thursday the 15th.
I know.
Thursday the
Public
15th,
Yes,
girls?
Thursday.
Wednesday, John.
What about Wednesday?
Wednesday, Bastille Day, that works.
That means something to the Canadians, right?
For the
Wednesday,
French.
what, the
No,
French?
today's
French.
Canadian Day, but the 14th is Bastille.
Oh.
Okay, Wednesday the
No,
14th,
no,
okay?
Hell, I know.
Isn't that subcommittee?
No, we don't meet.
No, July.
Oh, that's right.
July.
We don't meet in July.
Night off.
So
Yay.
July 14th at 5 o'clock.
I'll try to,
Yeah, yeah.
So are we on the 15th?
14th.
14th at 5.
we're always thinking.
Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn? Pat and Gary, thank you at 7.